Is it over? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Was It Good? My name is Bob, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Acolyte Episode 6, and I gotta say, we finally got peak Star Wars.
You serious?
No, but I guess we should go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, while I'm at it, let's do that.
Now, before I get into the review, I do need to let you know that there are going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want to know anything about it, go ahead and go check it out first and then come back and watch this video. Now, if you have seen it, I'd like to know what you thought about it. Why don't you go ahead and share your comments in the comments section below? Let me know what you thought about the episode overall. Did you like it? Are you liking the series overall? I'd really like to know what you thought. Go ahead and hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it. As Lucasfilm's version of The Parent Trap continues, on a distant planet we see unsettling questions about identity and destiny arise. As I was sitting there watching it, I can't help but think that it wasn't really too bad.
I'm joking, it sucks.
Yeah, it did. And it's not because anything major happened. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Nothing major happened. And that's actually a problem when you only have 8 episodes and you're spending 30 minutes with each episode. That doesn't really give you enough time to develop the characters. And then when you try to do it, you're taking these leaps that just seem to come out of nowhere. Now, as always, I do want to say the things that I did like, because there are a couple of things in this episode that interested me. There were a couple of interactions between Osha and Kamir that I actually liked. Not all of them, but there were a couple of them that I did like, because it seemed that he was trying to present Osha with an alternative, especially because she never really finished her Jedi training. And I think if they hadn't wasted time in other episodes doing things that were just dumb, like going on hikes for half an hour and stuff like that, you could have actually had more interactions like this that would have fleshed out the characters a little bit better. So when Osha puts the helmet on at the end of the episode, which I actually thought was okay, but when she puts that on, it would have made a little bit more sense how she got there and how she was curious about it, because you would have actually developed that a little bit better. So those things in itself weren't bad. It's just that there wasn't really time to develop it because we wasted our time in other episodes doing stuff that really didn't even matter. I also like that they included the explanation of the cortosis. I think it would have been better if they had put it earlier in the show, because if you're not familiar with the books, you weren't going to really know what was happening when he was headbutting the lightsabers and they were shorting out. Now, if you have read the books, you would be aware of this particular material. So I just think it would have been better if they had included that explanation earlier in the show, but I am glad that they included it here. But other than that, these were the only 2 things that I really liked in the episode. As far as things I didn't like, I gotta say, it just feels like Lucasfilm keeps digging itself into a hole.
When you're in a hole, stop digging.
And the reason it feels that way is because more and more people now know that there's something going on. So you they group of Jedi back on Coruscant that decide they're going to go investigate because they tried to get in contact with Sol. They weren't able to do so, but enough of the message came out that there were some deaths, and so they go to investigate, and they find out that all of the Jedi have been wiped out and that they've been killed with a lightsaber, and they even suggest that it was a fallen Jedi or something even worse. And so they now know that there's something wrong. So these are more loose ends that the Sith is going to have to kill in order to keep what little continuity they have left with Episode 1. So as a result, it just creates a bigger problem. And then if you do kill off these characters, what about all the Jedi that are left back on Coruscant? Now there's even more Jedi gone missing. What, you think they're just going to sit back there and be like, it's okay that these Jedi are gone? Yeah, I mean, we don't know where they are, but that's cool. Maybe they'll show up one of these days. It just makes no sense. You've dug yourself into a pretty big hole as far as continuity goes. The next thing I would think was just stupid. I mean, do we really have to see this with Smilo Ren?
She was naked.
And I thought this was just a pointless scene as Smilo Ren decided to go off for a swim. And then when he gets out of the water, of course, Osha sees him in all of his glory. I just think that it was a pointless scene, and it's not something that's needed in Star Wars. The next thing is, it wasn't clear whether Sol knew that that was May with him on the ship, or if he really thought that was Osha and just put it together. Because from what I took from it, it seemed like he had to put it together.
Very well. I know who did it.
And if that's the case, it really doesn't make any sense that Sol wasn't able to censor through the Force and know that that was May. It just seemed like he ended up putting it all together through her actions. And so that I didn't like. And finally, the last thing that I didn't like about this episode is, how shall I describe it?
Boring.
Nothing really happened, and I understand at times you're going to have moments where you're going to need character development, but to me it just felt like this was just a bunch of filler to get to the meat of what happened with Soul, and I'm assuming that's going to be next week, but really it just felt like it was a bunch of filler. As I always ask, was it good? To be honest, I didn't think this was horrible. It just felt like a bunch of filler to me, and it was plain boring. I didn't think that it was extremely lore breaking. I just think that they dug themselves into an even bigger hole. And like I said, not really a whole lot happened. It just felt like it was a bunch of filler. Well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen as far as the overall story with Soul, but that's just because at this point, it's just out of curiosity to know what happens. I still don't like the show, and this episode didn't do it any favors. Now, if you're still watching this long, I'd like to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.